All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are here on the market close. We got a very special day of earnings. Smci, Tempus, Arista, Rivian, Zeta, Axon, Pinterest, and none other than the company that both of these guys have been analyzing since it was well below $100. And they've been saying, hey, I think it's a buy. And the people that listen to them definitely made some money off that. AMD, Neil, Jose. What's up?
Hello, hello. All good, all good. As long as we don't look at the market, I think everything's fine.
Yeah, I haven't opened up the portfolio yet, so I still have a happy face, but I'm pretty sure we're about to change that really quickly as we hear what's going on with the market right now.
It's definitely an ugly market today, and it sucks that AMD has to be reporting on a day like this, but nonetheless, it is pretty ugly. S&P 500 down 1% on the day. There was a bit of recovery in the middle of the day, a little bit of a V-shape, then it kind of went right back down. AMD right there down about 3%. It got to 257. Well, low was at 247, and now it is in that 250 range. And part of what's happening right here is a liquidation of the crypto markets. I don't know what exactly is going on, but 250 billion has been wiped out from the crypto markets. Bitcoin got below 100,000. It's been bouncing off 99.5. It's at 100.7 right now. Ethereum got below 3,200. Right now, it's just below 3,200. But obviously, all the crypto derivative names like a BitMine, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Robinhood, all those have been getting hit on the day as well. So obviously, an ugly sell-off. I don't think one could say this is necessarily a panic sell because the VIX is not spiking. You have a big move on the VIX, but it's not some massive move where you would say, okay, it's peak fear. And therefore, we can kind of move on from it. Nonetheless, the fear and greed index is signaling that it is peak fear because we're at extreme fear. But there might be something potentially more prolonged, given it's not as rapid as previous decline. So real quick, before we get into AMD, Neil, I'll ask you first. Any just quick macro thoughts about what we're seeing today?
No, I didn't know about the crypto thing. I guess the last time we saw that was, what was it, a Friday, right? A crash Friday, liquidation event, margin call probably across the board. But today, I guess maybe the government shutdown being, again, extended might play a role, is probably playing a role in this sentiment right now. Plus, Jerome Powell last week didn't really help with his comments, right? When he said that the December cut is not a given, etc., etc. The government shutdown being extended means that we're not really going to get a lot of macro data from the US, so that doesn't help either. And then for some strange reason, even after all the big banks, big tech companies reported quite good reports, for some strange reason, people are still skeptical about what's going on right now. So, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Jose, any thoughts on this red?
On the crypto market, red, not really. Just in some of the high growth AI infrastructure names that I did see today, I would say I did get my toes a little wet today. Nothing too crazy, but I took a bit of an opportunity in certain players like CoreWeave and Nebius. So long term, still super excited, bullish long term trend for the AI infrastructure space. Short term, the volatility is, I forget the quote, the fee we pay for this great ride here in the stock market.
Yeah. And look, my take on this is we had an incredible October. People forget we were up 2.5% in October. That's a massive move, 6 month in a row in 2025 of being green. And so potentially consolidating some of those gains, getting a bit of a sell-off. You might have some CTAs also unloading if they went max long over the past couple months. So, I don't think there's a national headline that anyone can point to outside of the fact that we do have elections today. Maybe that's causing some of the volatility, but it's not like Trump tweeted about soybeans and the market selling off. So this really might be just one of those days where you have to hold your nose by the dip and kind of keep it going from there. AMD, let's get into it. AMD will be out at 4:15, guys. So we have about 25 minutes. As soon as the market closes, I will get through all the other earnings because we got a lot of other companies, and I'll put a pump or dump poll for AMD in the chat. Street wants $1.17 of EPS, revenue of $8.75 billion. Neil, I'll get started with you. The reason this stock moved from 150 to 250, I think objectively, is this OpenAI partnership. What do you think Lisa Su needs to talk about today in order to continue having that multiple?
Yeah, so of course the big jump, I think you can see this on the chart, is of course after that huge OpenAI AMD deal, which again, I know a lot of people have questions, myself included. Where do they get the money from? I'm not going to ask that question because maybe Sam will get angry and tell me, if you don't want your shares, you can sell them. I will find you a buyer. Well, joke's on you, Sam. I don't have any shares to sell. So there you go.
You showed him, Neil. You showed him.
But yeah, I mean, what I want to hear is, I spoke with Jose this morning, what I want to hear is an actual AI revenue guidance, because it has always been, oh, we are seeing some growth, et cetera, et cetera. We expect this business to be generating tens of billions of dollars for us. I'm like, okay, cool. But I mean, we are already in Q3, so you might as well tell us what you are expecting for the full year. We know that the big impact is going to be 2026 and onwards, but I'd like maybe a number for guidance for this year, and then maybe some color on how fast they can ramp up the MI 450 series next year for OpenAI, also for Oracle as well, because Oracle is also a big client of theirs. I do think that the other side, right, client side, gaming and embedded, are all going to do quite well. So I'm expecting a very, very easy beat for this quarter.
Okay, Jose, what are you expecting getting into the print? And do you think guidance has to go a lot higher to kind of make sense of this OpenAI potential revenue?
I mean, in theory, it does, but we have to remember that the MI 450, which is a lot of what the contract is coming from the OpenAI, is not expected to be released until 2026, in the second half of 2026. So in theory, it shouldn't really impact like guidance for next quarter. Now, I talked with Neo earlier today, and I was like, every quarter, there's a question that's the question to ask this quarter. When the DeepSeek moment happened, it was all about the DeepSeek space. Then we kind of had that question about Microsoft slowing down in data center. And that was the question asked on all major players, on all chip companies. I think the question for these earnings for semiconductor companies that still haven't reported, like AMD, like Broadcom, like Marvell, like NVIDIA, is going to be, how is OpenAI going to pay it? That's the question that they're all going to be focusing on. And I don't think any of them are going to have a right answer. So I don't know if the market is going to like that. Overall, though, in the short term, so long term, I'm very bullish on the stock. I believe the OpenAI deal, the Oracle massive deal, is an opportunity for this to be a $1 trillion company, not a guaranteed. But in the short term, we did get some great insight from TSMC and Intel that reported earnings. TSMC continues to see strong demand in AI accelerators and kind of the high performance computing, which typically involves consumer GPUs and CPUs, which AMD plays in. The second thing, Intel also reported that they were supply constrained in both the server side and the consumer side. And Intel is one that's losing market share overall right now, and they're supply constrained. I can't imagine what's happening with AMD, who is right now the tech leader, what type of growth they're seeing. So short term, I'm excited. The question is how much of that excitement has been priced in, but long term, very, very bullish on the company.
Do you think a lot of it has been priced in?
I mean, the stock jumped from 300 billion market cap to nearly 500 billion. I think, what are we close to, 400 and something? I think a lot has been priced in, and I hope Lisa does take a little bit more aggressive approach than she usually does. If not, short term could be crazy, but I think the long term, the opportunity is still there.
I think that's fair. I agree. I think she needs a Larry Ellison type of quarter, and that Larry Ellison type of quarter would mean to increase remaining performance obligations, because as you said, the revenue can't be collected until latest Q3 2026, or sorry, earliest Q3. So it's like, if you can't give the street a number of revenue today, you can give them the expectation of revenue. And the street has heavily rewarded companies that have been able to show the expectation of this AMD revenue eventually coming. That's what Amazon got yesterday in their deal as well. So Neil, I would imagine you think that guide, it just has to be strong. Because if they don't have that guide and they come up with 14% growth, which I don't think it will be 14% like it was last quarter based on TSM earnings, as Jose said, then the stock's probably not going to do the best.
Yeah, plus the biggest hit from that China non-existing business anymore is behind us. The biggest hit for that is behind us. But yeah, guidance is important. Again, I don't think we should be focusing on what, like an Oracle's RPO. Again, the RPO are not contracted secured revenue, so that huge number might also never happen. I mean, remains to be seen. That's a big question mark. But with AMD, yeah, guidance, actual number for because guidance has been given without an actual number. Like, okay, we expect to grow high double digit or strong double digit. I mean, me and Jose were trying to decrypt this thing. This can go from 20% all the way to 90%. That's strong and high double digits. We don't know what that is. It's like tens of billions of dollars. I'm like, okay, but for a fiscal year, is that $10 billion, 12, 15, 16? Maybe give us a number, especially for this year, because you're already towards the end of their fiscal year. So might be easier for them to project something, but they like to play it safe. But yeah, when you are, again, it's not their fault that they're trading at a premium, but for investors, yes, when you're trading at a premium, you would like the management to actually be maybe a bit clearer or a bit more aggressive, let's say.
Agreed. That's a fair point. We do have a lot of option premium coming in on puts on AMD as well. 242 strike, 2.5 million in OTM puts. I mean, at this point, when the market's dumping, you're obviously going to go get a lot of traders and people that are hedging their long AMD positions with a bunch of puts to protect themselves. So the implied move, does anyone know the implied? I think it's about 8.4%.
Yeah, we did. We checked this morning, 8.4, 8.3. So it can. Okay. Jose, what did we say this morning? I think it goes
230
all the
and
way. 230 and 271 based on the price of right now.
All right, there you go. 230 or 271. We will keep an eye on it. We got 3 minutes until this market closes. We got a bunch of other macro headlines that we'll talk about after the earnings. One thing that I did see today, going in line with this argument about the labor market, American Airlines will be cutting hundreds of corporate jobs, as per Bloomberg. That was announced today. So again, a lot of these jobs are happening in the white collar space, aka middle management jobs that some people may argue are typically more bureaucratic. And potentially that's happening because of AI. I don't know the exact reason from American Airlines, but we are seeing a bit more of a trend on this. That might also be a reason why we're seeing a little bit of a sell-off. But quite frankly, as Neil said, we don't have data. So we were supposed to get JOLTS this morning. We don't have that data. It's delayed because the government shut down. You had a couple senators coming out today saying that government shutdown maybe will be resolved by the end of the week. But I mean, the market can only ignore the shutdown for so long. At some point, it starts having a tangible effect and it starts having a psychological effect of like, hey, how is the labor market doing? Well, we don't know. It's like, okay, well, how are we supposed to allocate our capital if we don't know? And hopefully that gets resolved by the end of the year, or at least the end of the week, to get a better understanding of it. AMD 250 dumping into the close. We got 2 minutes left. Neil and Jose, pump or dump? What would you guess?
I'd go with we go to 230. We go to 230. So we're down. We're going down the 8%. Voila, Jose, you have to take the other side now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hate Neil with all my whole life, so I'm gonna go with the opposite side.
No. You both can go dump, and then I'll go pump and be the crowd favorite against the two AMD bulls. I actually like that scenario way better.
Works for me. Works for me. If it goes up, I make money. If it goes down, I'm right. So
that's a little bit the best situation. Yeah. It's literally 50-50, as you guys can see on the screen right there. 50% pump, 50% dump. We are going to find out. We are going to find out today. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We got 15 minutes until AMD. We have a lot of companies until AMD. I will get through all the numbers here, get you guys our raw reactions, and then once we get AMD, we are going to get into it. And we will be listening to the call, I believe, at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to stick around for the call, we will be listening to that today as well. All right, folks, here we go. Ugly day in the markets. This is the start to November. Nonetheless, we've had a really good year, a lot of gains. Looks like we are consolidating it into a choppy start for November, but we're going to see what earnings these companies can put up. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Tuesday, November 4th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed.
Ding, 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 bing, bong.
What'd you say?
We don't own a bell like you, so we do the sounds with our voice.
Ding, ding.
Really? Oh, my goodness. Okay, that's even more epic than the bell. All right, AMD down 3.7% on the day. S&P down 1.16. NVIDIA down 3.8. NVIDIA lost about $150 billion in market cap. Tesla down 5%. By the way, lots of controversy today around investors in the Tesla community, some very influential investors saying they're going to leave Schwab because of how Schwab is acting, voting against the board for Elon's pay package. Even Vlad, the Robinhood CEO, commented today saying that we might give Tesla investors a match for coming over to Robinhood.
The genius marketing move.
Absolutely genius move, but it goes to show how much demand there might be. And if Robinhood does give 2 or 3% to leave Schwab to just bring over your Tesla shares, I mean, that could be a really big deal for Robinhood, and obviously very good for Tesla investors if they don't want to stay with an organization voting against the board. Tesla right there, down about 5% of the day. Robinhood down 7%. Palantir, after one of the best quarters I've ever seen from a stock market company in history as a public market company, down 8% on the day. Grab right here did get a little recovery towards the end of the day. It was at 536, now at 580, but still down 4.5%. Google down 2%, SoFi down 4%, AMD down 4%, Reddit down 8%, Amazon down 2%, Meta down 2%, Salesforce down 3%, PayPal down 3%, Elf down 2%, SMCI down 6%, Ethereum down 11%, and then Bitcoin down 5.8% on the day. AppLovin down 3%, Circle down 5%. I mean, it was a bloodbath pretty much everywhere you went, and it was just one of those days that everyone had to deal with. Here was the heat map to end out the day. Healthcare was green, financials were green, consumer defenses were green, pretty much everything else in tech, software, semis, etc. Those were red on the day. All right, earnings, let's get into it. So we got a lot of different companies. SMCI, Rivian, Cava, Zeta, Upstart, Pinterest, Anet, Axon, Tempus, Toast, Kratos. I will be looking for the numbers as soon as we can get them.
Stereo Labs, I think it's another popular one, does reporting today.
That is A-Lab, right? Okay, let me pull that up. Yep, A-Lab. And then we'll get into it. So let's see if we get any numbers that are coming out yet. Again, AMD is going to be in about 15 minutes.
I think Tempus is maybe out, maybe.
Okay, yep, Tempus, here you go. Beat by 40% on EPS. Street thought they would lose 18 cents. They ended up losing 11 cents. 334 versus 328 million. Revenue's up 85% year over year. EPS is up 56%. Tempus after hours, relatively flat, not really making a move. But again, you are seeing companies continue to be on the top and the bottom line. Axon, they missed by 24% on EPS, 117 versus 154, 710 million versus 704. So they beat by revenue, missed on EPS. Axon looks like it's heading down after hours. Axon is, wow, down 7.9%. Yeah, Axon's getting hit. Axon is getting hit. Missed by EPS by a wide margin. The stock was up a lot this year. That tends to create some pain. So Axon, that's down. SMCI, is that out yet? SMCI, don't have it yet. We have Amgen. They beat by 13% on EPS, beat by 7% on revenue. Not too bad for them. I think a politician also bought this stock recently. Amgen's actually up after hours, so that one getting a little bit of a move right there on Amgen. But some of these other names are still down. Don't have AMD yet. SMCI still don't have that yet either. Tempus is down, it looks like. Let me see if we have earnings. We do have earnings. Oh yeah, we just said it. Beat by 39%. Tempus after hours
is down
7%. Yep. So down 12% for the day. So that one is indeed getting hit. Okay, so let's see some of the other ones. So Tempus beat on the top and bottom. That's down 7%. Axon missed by 24%, beat by 1% on revenue. That's down 7%. Amgen beat on the top and the bottom. Skyworks beat by 15% on EPS and beat by 5% on revenues. So you got Skyworks right there, 176 versus 153, 1.1 versus 1.05. EPS is up 14% year over year. Revenue is up 7% year over year. Skyworks, which was during the day red, getting a little bit of green after hours. Skyworks is up about 0.5% after hours, but still red. Zeta's not out yet. Still looking for that one. Don't see it yet. AMD again is going to be in a second. Kratos I don't have yet either.
Rivian just reported. I don't know if you're covering that one.
Yes. Let me see if I can get Rivian's numbers. Yep. Okay. Rivian, they missed by 12%. Beat by 3% on revenue. Revenue's up 78% year over year. EPS is up 11% year over year. That's a pretty ugly miss on the top line. Rivian's flat after hours, not really making a move. They are still not GAAP profitable. I think the gross profits, I think they have, not GAAP profits. Maybe that's a 2026 thing, but you got to look under the hood for Rivian to see if they do have any level of increased operating leverage for profitability. Rivian going a little green after hours, but still relatively red. SMCI is moving.
Zeta is moving on the way up as well.
Yeah,
But,
Zeta's going green. Zeta's going real green. Okay, Zeta, 7% move on Zeta to the upside, touching 18. SMCI, I also think we have the results. Whoa, boy, ugly SMCI. Missed by 10% on EPS, missed by 13% on revenue. Yep, SMCI is tanking.
Yeah, but wasn't that like the preliminary results that they gave us like 2 weeks ago or something?
What analyst didn't project correctly after they gave us the number? They should get those guys fired.
No, you're right. Everyone knew these numbers. The SMCI flat out said it. So the fact that the stock is still going down on this is just hilarious. That's a nasty dump, though, dude. 43. That's down 8%. Last time SMCI,
it's also do investors like, oh, no, they're lying to us. It's really like 5.8 that they're just trying to trick us right now.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Last time we were at 43 was October 3rd, so about a month ago, and the time before that was August 5th. So realistically, it's getting back to levels it hasn't seen in a couple months. But SMCI also tends to rebound pretty quickly. So you might have some people coming in and buying the dip. AMD right here, still 249. We got about 8 minutes until those earnings come out. Pinterest, this is, oh my goodness, what is going on with Pinterest? Oh my, 13% down. That's a little ugly. Pinterest, I don't have their numbers yet. No, do I? Yes, fourth quarter revenue, 1.3 to 1.34 billion on their estimates. Monthly active users, 600 million. I'll get the top and the bottom line in a second, but Pinterest is down. Arista beat by 6%, beat by 2%. EPS beat 75 versus 71. Revenue 2.3 versus 2.2. Arista are removing, that's ticker symbol Anet. They are down 12% on a double beat. It's a little ugly, but nonetheless, you're getting a pretty nasty move right there. Goodness gracious. Again, this is just a horrible day to report for any company. But still, then you have Astera. They beat by 26%, 49 cents versus 39 cents expected. Revenue 230 versus 206. A-Lab, that stock is up.
Yeah, that one's green.
Okay.
Very nice.
So A-Lab's up 6, Arista's down 13.
I was just looking really quickly at Supermicro. I mean, even though they only did 5 billion this quarter, they did guide for about 10 to 11 billion. I wonder if the market's just like, don't lie to me. You're going to tell us 10 to 11 billion, but then preliminary results, you're going to give us some other number a week before earnings. But they gave some nice, strong guidance for quarter two, and they expect about 36 billion for 2026. So if those numbers are true, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and their fiscal year stayed relatively the same for what analysts expected, even if the quarterly revenues changed.
I mean, 2 quarters ago, this fiscal year was supposed to be $40 billion. Now it's 36. That's a small 4 billion, 10% less. We'll give them that. As long as they file on time, should be fine.
Yeah, you got to give up 4 billion for proper accounting, I guess, is the trade-off. Zeta right here crushed it, 20 cents versus 18 cents. That's an 11% beat. Revenue 337 versus 325. I mean, Zeta, I don't know enough about this company, but I know a lot of people on X are fond of it as a digital analytics marketing advertising play. Did touch 18. Stock is now back to 16.95, so really not making too much of a move, up about 1%. It was up a bit more, but that's flat. Upstart, I think, is making a move higher. Upstart is up 0.4%. Not a big move, but it is a move. Don't have their numbers. Oh, no, I do. Beat by 24% on EPS. Missed by 1% on revenue. 52 versus 42 on EPS. That's decent. Not bad at all. Revenue's up 71% year over year. They missed by 1%. Upstart basically flat after hours. We also have Pinterest. Officially, Pinterest. Oh, that's ugly. Missed by 10% on EPS. As a tech company, especially with good margins like Pinterest in the advertising space, if you're missing on EPS, you're not going to give investors a lot of confidence, especially in the age of AI. 10% miss right there, 38 cents versus 42, 1.049 versus 1.05 billion. The revenue miss is inconsequential, but the EPS miss probably is not the best. That's why that stock's down about 10%. Never mind, almost 15% after hours for Pinterest. Yeah, 14.9.
Do people still even use Pinterest? I mean, I never used it, but I don't think I was the demographic for it.
Yeah, they have
Is
about
your
5.
wife using it?
Nope.
I mean, they have about 570 million monthly actives. They're expecting 600 million in Q4. So, I mean, there are a decent chunk of people that use it. And theoretically, it should be one of the best advertising platforms out there because, like, you have the intent to buy when you're like pinning stuff to your board. But still, that one getting hit. Rivian right here is making a bit of a recovery after hours. Rivian now 3.4%. It was down during the day by about 5%. So a lot of these stocks that are getting any level of move after hours, they're kind of just inching away at some of the red they had during the day. A-Lab getting some of the green, and then I don't know why Anet is down this badly on a double beat. But
I'm seeing chat apps. I forget what is that. Digital Turbine? No, what is stock is that? Apps also reported and up a nice amount.
I think you're right. It's apps is APPS, Digital Turbine. That is up. Yes. I don't have their numbers, but that stock is up. I do have the numbers for Cava, which I still haven't tried yet. And there's one near me, but I just haven't gone there. Beat by 8% or missed by 8% on EPS, 12 cents versus 13 cents expected. And then 292 versus 291. Revenue's up 20% year over year. EPS is down 8% year over year, which is not that pretty. Cava is basically flat after hours, down about 0.3%.
Did Cava drop after Chipotle? I feel like they're kind of similar price. Maybe Cava's a little bit more expensive, but I know Chipotle took a huge hit. So I wonder if the market was just already expecting something here.
Yeah, I mean, Cava was trading at 140 at one point. Now it's at 50. So, I mean, it definitely took a hit over the past year, but maybe not getting that same Chipotle reaction. Let's get a little bit more coverage on Pinterest and Cava, and then we'll keep going from there. We got AMD in about 3 minutes, folks.
Just finishing the day lower. We've got Pinterest earnings out as well. That stock falling big here in after hours. The company missing on EPS coming in at 36 cents a share. That's versus estimates of 42 cents per share. The company matching on revenue. Pinterest reporting an all-time high of 600 million global monthly active users. That's an increase of 12% year over year. The 600 million was above estimates. Nonetheless, though, those shares are falling 14% right now.
All right, and Cava earnings also out. That stock's been bouncing around quite a bit, about the flat line. Kate Rogers has the numbers. Kate.
Yeah, just fractionally lower now, John. So Cava reporting EPS of 12 cents on revenues of 292 million, essentially right in line, but its same store sales falling short of analyst estimates. They were up 1.9% versus estimates of up 2.8%. Remember, though, comping against a very strong quarter this time last year. The company also cutting its guidance for full year same store sales growth, now forecasting it to be up between 3 and 4% from a prior range of up 4 to 6%. This is the second guidance cut we've gotten in a row. It's also cutting its restaurant margin forecast and adjusted EBITDA forecast. I did speak with CFO Trisha Tolivar, who said regarding the forecast, quote, "We were certainly taking into account the consumer pressures that many are seeing in the industry today. And as we moved into the fourth quarter, we saw a bit of a decline in overall demand and wanted to be sure."
Same thing Chipotle said. You're seeing some pressure on the consumer in these restaurants.
That the forecast reflected that, as well as the investments we believe are necessary to run the business and the trends we saw in the third quarter, particularly around restaurant level margins. Tolivar also adding there are pressures rather around the younger consumer, which we also saw, remember, in Chipotle. It's less exposed, though, to the low income consumer, but she said they are seeing same store sales strength from that group. Guys, back over to you.
All right, AMD, folks, that was Cava. This is the moment. Let's see if Lisa can save the after hours AMD 249.70. Based on the poll in the chat, it is officially 50-50 still. 50% pump, 50% dump. And Jose leaves because he is so afraid of these results.
Maybe he should come. I had 57 pump, 43 dump. Maybe now he's going to come back. I don't know how that works.
Jose, I know it's your second largest position. I know you're scared, but oh my goodness.
I was in a refresh on the wrong tab.
No, you left because you didn't want to see the dump, and it's dumping. Let's see if it stays dumping though. Let's see. It could reverse. We've seen this happen many times, but you do have. Oh, there's the reversal. Wow, there's the reversal. 242 to 250. Oh my! Now back down to 246.
So do I call the wife or not? What do I do?
You know,
change the locks.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, here we go. Beat by 3%, beat by 6%. 120 versus 117. 9.24 versus 8.75. That is a double beat, folks. EPS up 30% year over year. Revenues up 36% year over year.
Easy.
Stock is kind of flat to green. Now it's going a bit more green, 253. The initial dump recovered, but it's staying stuck at that 248, 250 level. I'll pull up their actual website and we'll go deeper into the numbers. But I mean,
guidance was 9.6 billion. Let me see what I had here for. I mean, great beat on revenue there. I'm pretty excited about that. I see the strong guidance. Excuse me. So I just want to see what I'm comparing it to
let me read this. Yeah, I'll read this press release and then we'll get your thoughts on it. So, Lisa Su, we delivered an outstanding quarter with record revenue and profitability reflecting broad-based demand for our high-performance EPYC and Ryzen processors and Instinct AI accelerators. Our record third-quarter performance and strong fourth-quarter guidance makes a clear step up in our growth trajectory as our expanding compute franchise and a rapidly expanding data center AI business drive significant revenue and earnings growth. We delivered record quarterly revenue of $9.2 billion, up 36% year over year, generated free cash flow, reflecting the strength of our leadership portfolio and disciplined execution. Our continued investments in AI and high-performance computing are driving significant growth and position AMD to deliver long-term value creation. Again, revenue is up 36% year over year. Gross profits up 40%. Margins are up 2%, 50 to 52. Net income is up 61%, 771 million to 1.2 billion. Q4 guidance, I'll get in a second. Data center revenue accelerated from 14 to 22. That is not bad. Below 20, I think, was the fear. It's above 20, 22%. AMD stock right here still up a little bit at 252. Q4, 9.6 billion plus or minus 300 million. So 9.3 to 9.9.
That's what the market was expecting. We're expecting about 9.6 billion at midpoint. Overall, I mean, I think short term, it's great. Obviously, the long term opportunity is still with the MI 450, which, like they mentioned, is the second half of 2026. So we'd love to hear some commentary in there, and hopefully Lisa Su tells us something about it.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a bad earnings on the top line. Neil, any raw reactions to these numbers?
No, so far so good. I mean, if you look at the climb and gaming segment, that's also $4 billion, and that's up 73% year over year. Client is $2.8 billion out of the four. That's up 46% year over year. Gaming was up 181. That's a segment that was facing plenty of headwinds. Now, as we've seen last quarter, we've seen that also with NVIDIA, some tailwinds right there. And embedded seems to still be a business with some headwinds. That was on 8% year over year, but that's one with very, very high margin. So all in all, I'm not surprised that we're above $9 billion. I think Jose and myself talked about this morning. For the guidance, again, it's guidance as expected by the market, which probably means they beat it, again, because they've been beating it quite easily.
Yeah. The other thing I'm seeing here is gross margins is staying at a 54% rate, same place as same time last year. And if you add back kind of the expense they had last quarter with the China, is still 54%. So it's giving you some indication that while they're selling more, they're not selling it at a cheaper price to kind of get that revenue. That revenue is staying them with the consistent pricing that they have. So overall, still pretty bullish in my opinion for long-term opportunity for AMD. So as an AMD shareholder, I don't think there's anything scary so far from what we're looking at.
I was just going to ask, do you see any red flags? And I don't think you do, especially with gross margins, right?
Free cash flow was also quite good. Free cash flow for the quarter, 1.5 billion. Last quarter was 1.1. Same quarter last year was barely 496 million.
By the way, it's 13F season, and Amazon has disclosed their 13F. We should be getting most of them in the next 2 weeks. They have sold out of IONQ and AMD.
Yeah, I figured they would have sold out of that one.
IONQ and AMD, they no longer hold. They still have Marvell, Astera, a Biotech, Owlet, Rivian, obviously, Smart Trent, and Vital Farms. But AMD and IONQ, they are out of. Okay, so I mean, this is the stock reaction is flat, which of course it's going to go flat on a day where everyone's anticipating either 230 or 270. But I think, look, if you're an AMD shareholder, you can't be that upset, right? I mean, you probably bought this stock below 250 for the most.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. And right, it's like the market's confirming, look, with these earnings, we're gonna give you the price of after that OpenAI deal. So it's yeah, I think pretty exciting, and I hope we get a lot more information during the earnings call.
I think you've got to be ecstatic if you're an AMD shareholder. The stock went from 150 to 250. It's holding its multiple. It's not falling. Yeah, maybe
For
it's
now.
not for now. It's not at it's not at 267.
Flip it.
It's not, it's not like it's back down to 180.
Yeah, no, I mean, if we look, free cash flow margin for the quarter is 17%. This time last year, that was barely 7%. So they're growing. Free cash flow margin is expanding. So yeah, I'm happy. We'll see what the call brings, because I'm pretty sure this stock will move when Lisa Su talks, or our friend Jean will start talking, and maybe the usual thing happens is stock goes down a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see.
Also, the entire market is dumping today. So, and a lot of stocks are getting destroyed after hours. So the fact that AMD is relatively stable, also not the worst thing in the world. Here's some coverage on SMCI and AMD.
Stock is down about 6%. Earnings at 35 cents a share compared to an estimate of 40 cents. Also a miss on revenue, $5 billion versus the estimate of nearly $6 billion. Second quarter EPS outlook also coming in below estimates, but the company says it has a rapidly expanding order book, including $13 billion in Blackwell Ultra orders. AMD earnings out as well, staying in AI infrastructure. Earnings of $1.20 per share, slightly ahead of the estimate. You see it's up fractionally. Revenue of $9.25 billion, also topping the estimate. That's helped by better than expected data center revenue. Also seeing Q4 revenue above the consensus. CEO Lisa Su crediting the rapidly growing data center business.
Well, we still have more big interviews to come here on.
All right, that's what you got. AMD getting a little bit of red candle. The other thing that's going red, which is very nastily going red, is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin right there, once again, testing 100 for I think the 5th time today. $108 until it goes below. And then Ethereum, I mean, it looks like she wants to go below 3,000. It really does. BMNR right here, 38.80, down 10% on the day. MicroStrategy down 7% on the day. A lot of the Bitcoin miners that were green in the morning ended up going red, even though they don't do Bitcoin mining anymore. Robinhood, obviously a lot of exposure to crypto. That's down 7%. And then you have Coinbase, which is, it was at 340 2 days ago. Now it's at 306. Coinbase just had one of the best earnings they had in their company's history. And that stock's getting hit today. So you are seeing some pretty ugly red after hours. S&P 500 still down about 1.2%. We did have Oust earnings as well. This is another company I know people care about. 39.5 million in revenue, up 41% year over year. GAAP gross margins of 42%. They lost 22 million. I think that's a beat on EPS. Adjusted EBITDA loss of 10 million, and they have about 247 million of cash. Oust is, I believe, slightly up after hours. OUST, that stock. Oh no, it's up 10.4%. So that one as well getting moved. Toast had earnings. That stock is green after hours as well. This is a fintech. Their numbers seem relatively
beats across
strong.
the board, yeah.
Yeah, 23% EPS, 16 cents versus 13, 1.63 versus 1.59. EPS up 130% year over year. Revenues up 25% year over year. Toast, that stock is up 3% after hours.
There is the AMD presentation that is available right now if you want to go over that.
Yes, I would like to. Let me pull that up. Okay, here we go. So this is what we've got on AMD. Yeah, we saw Anet and A-Lab both were pretty good. Anet's the one getting hit. A-Lab is going a bit higher, but both of them with a double beat on earnings as well. So you got revenue growth, 36% year over year, 6.8 versus 9.2, which is quite incredible. I mean, I know NVIDIA is going to get 50%, but still 36% is nothing to scoff at. As Jose said, their gross margins are flat, but that doesn't mean it's going down, at least on a non-GAAP basis, which is also good. Again, this is a hardware business. There's not that many companies that can get 70% gross margins. You usually have to have a monopoly on the chips like NVIDIA does. So the fact that AMD is getting over 50% is very nice to see. And operating income right there, 1.7 to 2.2 billion as well. And you're getting some green there. Segment results, as you can see, data centers, that's up 22% year over year. Gaming up 73%, and then embedded is down 8%. Neil, are you reading anything into embedded being down 8%, or is that kind of a nothing burger for you?
No, I mean, they told us they have last year, Jose, what was it, $14 billion in design wins for embedded. I think this year they're doing a little bit better than that. But so far, it's been a business where there has been some headwinds. But if you go to page 16, which we'll get there, you can see that same time last year, operating margin for that business was 40%. We're currently only at 33%, despite not that many tailwinds. So when it goes back up, which eventually it will, it just adds so much to the bottom line. Just that small business, but if you can get back to 40% margins, I think that's not bad at all. You see the client gaming segment has also gone from 12% operating margin to 21%. Again, everybody's focused on, of course, the data center side of it, which makes sense because that's supposed to be a huge business for them. But the client and gaming is, it's $4 billion. Data center is 4.3. Data center is currently at 25% operating margin. And client and gaming is currently at 21, but also $4 billion. So right now you do have those two businesses that are pretty strong, growing, and you will see margins continue to go up, which will help with free cash flow, which then helps them obviously buy back shares, maybe buy some other smaller companies and better compete, I guess, with NVIDIA if needed.
And the embedded drop shouldn't be a surprise. We continue to know that in the semiconductor space, the industrial market, the automotive market are still much weaker than any other space. We heard companies like Texas Instrument mention that this is a market that's the turnaround cycle is a lot longer than most cycles has ever happened. So while they're still profitable here, nice free cash flow, like Neil mentioned, when this turns around, that would be a massive free cash flow tailwind for AMD in the future, which is extremely exciting. One more thing that I saw on the slideshow was the gross margins for Q4. They expect about 54.5. So not crazy, but it is an improvement from that 54% that they've been hitting. So little things like that are things to get excited about. I would love to hear from Lisa Su or management, like how did the breakdown on data center, how is it going? What is data center CPU and what is data center GPU? Is it a 50-50? Which one still is Epic CPU still the leader here? And if so, when will that shift happen? Because it's going to happen. Eventually, the data center GPU market is going to overthrow, if it hasn't, the CPU market.
Fair points. AMD, I don't think it's going red because of the results. I think we're getting an everything dump right about now. Literally everything is really getting hit hard. Zeta and Toast, I guess, are exceptions. But along with crypto, AMD is starting to dump with pretty much everything down about 3.6%. It was kind of stable at around 250. Now it's down. Cava's getting hit. Rivian up a little bit. SMCI not down as bad as it was, but still is down. Kratos did have earnings, guys. That's the drone defense company. They beat on EPS 14 versus 12 cents, and then revenue 347 versus 322. So they beat on the top and the bottom, which is not too bad for Kratos. That stock after hours still down 7% after a top and bottom beat. And then you had Live Nation, which handles tickets, if I'm not wrong. That one they missed by 51%. And on revenue, they missed by 1.28%. That stock is down 4% after hours, regardless of the stock price action. I think the broader thing to realize here is that the consumer might not be going out to events as much if Live Nation is missing on EPS by 50%. And so it goes back to this question about the consumer that we've been talking about for a while as well.
It's either that or the analysts were completely wrong with the expectations here.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the concerts, most of them are still quite full, I would say.
Agreed. It is a bit weird, the dichotomy between what we're seeing. Bitcoin 99.7. That's getting wrecked. And Ethereum 31.56. The overall crypto market cap, Fartcoin, by the way, is down 7% today as well. The total crypto market cap is down 7% today. It's 3.3 trillion. Lost about 270 billion today. For some context, gold is about a $27 trillion market. Gold, by the way, after hours, actually holding decent. I mean, it was basically at 3,900 in the morning, still at 3,934. So, I mean, you're definitely not seeing a rotation out of gold into Bitcoin, but it's, I guess, too early to tell if you're seeing a rotation out of Bitcoin into gold. I mean, one of the reasons people could be just selling their Bitcoin and Ethereum is because there is leverage in the system. This is what happened on October 10th. You have people that are over levered. And as a result of that over leverage, it's causing people that are not levered to panic sell because they're afraid of what might be happening. And they might be just saying, you know what, I'd rather just have some cash and not risk it right now, even if rates are coming down. And
that's what did Tom Lee say in his latest 2 interviews that on average, who's down still this year? Down 7%.
You mean like fund managers?
Yeah, but maybe mention something specific. But let's say fund manager are on average down 7% or 6% or so far this year, which, I mean, that's quite something. I wonder if they're still short right now and maybe they're benefiting from this, or if they try to go long and now they're getting wrecked twice, trying to catch up towards the end of the year.
Right.
But yeah, his comments were interesting because he did say that he thinks we're going to end the year strong, but the start of November was going to be choppy. And I guess right now he's been spot on.
What is happening with Google here?
Let's see. We got a green candle on the Googs.
I know Sundar earlier mentioned that he was sending TPUs to space. I don't think that's it.
Dude, that is, I didn't read too much into it, but Sundar is building data centers in space, which is...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw yesterday, we shipped the first H100, NVIDIA's H100 of space. So I wonder if now we're going to see the first TPU in space.
I mean, you know, like if NVIDIA's been talking about this for a while, Amazon's been talking about this for a while. If it were to happen, it would be quite incredible to see the use of space. I don't see any headline on Google. If anyone sees it, let me know.
But are you sure that you're maybe refresh your thing? Because I'm not seeing it. I see a 0.02% move here.
It might be
I mean, I'm I would love to see your candle, but mine didn't take the HIMSS pill that makes things rise. So.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that's a legend issue. Sorry, guys. the only other candle we have here is the almond croissant, but no green Google candle. Not
fancy.
Today. Smells good, dude. Apartment smells good.
And it's gone.
Oh my goodness. What a day. IBM cutting 8,000 jobs in latest layoffs. I wonder if these are corporate. I would imagine they are.
Okay, I have a question. Because now the question, okay, then no question for you.
No, okay, I'm sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
Because with all of these layoffs, right, it's either, it's because of AI. And if it is because of AI, can you also use the argument of AI is a bubble? Because if these layoffs happen because of AI, that means that these companies can do more with less, which means AI is real. If we do go with the argument of AI is a bubble, then AI isn't real, then why would they lay off their employees? Unless they overhired and it's still the pandemic hiring. But I mean, we're already in 2025, so.
What did you have, Neil? And can I have some?
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Basically, in debate, we call this a double bind. It's like, if you want to say it's a bubble, then the transformative impacts of AI should not be causing layoffs, because if it's a bubble, then there's no use case. There's no return on investment of the AI in the enterprise. If it's not a bubble, the second order derivative effect is a layoff, which is bad, but it denies the first part of the statement that it's a bubble. I think that's an amazing point. So,
thank you very much. At least one guy is appreciative of my.
Maybe I just have some confirmation bias because I want to prove it's not a bubble. But no, it's true.
There is no AI bubble, but all these layoffs will eventually lead to a bubble since people won't have money.
Yes, there you go. That is how you get the best of both worlds. Yes, there you go. No, but it's true. There's no, if companies are firing because of AI and not demand issues, not consumer issues, which maybe it's the latter, then it means AI is useful. It just creates a separate problem around the labor market. Ethereum below 3,100. 15% down on the day for Ethereum, which means Bitcoin's what, at 99? Never mind. 98 is here. 98 is here. The last time Bitcoin was at $98,000, we touched it in June, and before that was February, and before that was October 2024. So about 4 times in the past year, we've touched 98. We've always bounced off of it. I mean, the lowest we had was 74,000 in April, but that was the entire market falling 30%. So it's kind of got to bounce off 98 to keep that trend from April 24 or from September 2024 to be intact. But it is down right here, 99.17. Rivian, let's get some coverage on that. We did have Rivian earnings, and let's see what RJ, the CEO, had to say about their quarter.
Than expected loss.
Yeah.
How much of that is because deliveries were better than expected and pricing was strong?
Well, deliveries were strong, but importantly, our cost of goods sold, cost per unit produced, is among the lowest we've ever seen. So we really did a great job of continuing to drive efficiency into how we run the plant, to continue to drive efficiency into our bill of materials, and we see that with COGS of very low COGS this quarter.
When you look at getting to R2 production and your liquidity level right now, are you confident you have the capital needed, or is there a chance of a capital raise in the first half of next year?
No, we're very focused on launching R2. As you see, we've got over $7 billion in cash or cash equivalents. So we're really well positioned for the launch of R2. We just built over 2 million square feet of new infrastructure in our Normal, Illinois facility. Some of that's for a body shop and general assembly. We also have a supplier park and a logistics center that's supporting the ramp up of R2.
Two things that worry people right now regarding you and all the automakers: rare earth materials and the discussions between President Trump and President Xi in China, as well as the Nexperia chip situation. Have you had to slow down production because of those?
You know, with Nexperia, this is a really complex issue. It affects every manufacturer, every automotive manufacturer in the world. This is something we're very focused on. We're very appreciative of the work that President Trump and the administration are doing to resolve this issue with China. This has not impacted us yet, but I do want to say this is a big issue. As it pertains to rare earth metals, this is a complex long-term issue. And for us, we're both focusing on finding other sources of rare earth metals. So this is primarily for magnets, as well as developing solutions that require less rare earth metals.
Is there any chance that either Nexperia or the rare earth issue delays the start of production for the R2 in the middle of next year?
This isn't something we're seeing as a potential for delay in R2, just because of how we built and designed the supply chain.
Okay, so that is good news for Rivian, that the rare earth stuff is not hurting their future production plans. Bitcoin right here still down 98,000. Guys, the stock that's getting hit the most after hours is Axon, down 23%.
Holy smokes.
That stock was up 18% this year. Over the past year, it was up 63%. Past 5 years, it's a 5-bagger. So it has had a very good run. I guess you could say it might have been priced for perfection.
It's a crazy company with crazy execution, but so expensive. So, I mean, $554 per share now might look a bit better.
And they missed by 24%. Now, again, they sell body cameras, particularly for police. Or I think it was their biggest client. Missing by 24%, I would be very curious to understand why they missed that badly. But that is giving them a bit of a hit. There might be some margin compression that you're seeing right here. But that stock's down 20%. So that's what we have on Axon. Yeah, these are the highlights. Yeah, I don't see anything too crazy about margins, but EPS is a nasty miss.
Margins are down a little bit. Gross margins are down a little bit. Adjusted is down a little bit as well. But it's still a very good business. And when you look at what's happening right now, let's be realistic. I don't think that a business like Axon is going to get less business in the future, unfortunately, right? You're going to need more body cams. You're going to need more software for law enforcement, some drones, tasers, and some other things that they're... Yeah, I mean, and some
I'm
other
serious.
things
I mean,
that they
if
do as well.
there's ever a RoboCop style, you're still gonna need cameras for stuff like that.
Correct. They do products and services. So the services software side, and that's up significantly as well. So it's a business that has a lot of demand. It's just the stock price itself was too high, and when you have such a miss, you are going to get hit.
AMD calls in 20 minutes, folks, so we'll be streaming that in a second. Someone tweeted at Tom Lee a photoshopped picture of his LinkedIn saying that he now works at McDonald's. And Tom Lee quote tweeted it and said, "Signs of the bottom." I mean, I think the reason this drawdown is kind of annoying today is because no one understands why it's that aggressive. I mean, if we go to its extremes, which, I mean, maybe this is the reason, if no one has a better reason. I'm curious what you guys think of this. Michael Burry disclosing $1 billion short on Palantir Nvidia. Do you think that's just scaring the market? Like, because I don't see the other headline that would maybe government shutdown stuff. But Neil, any thoughts on Burry entering into that big short?
Burry is already losing money on his puts, because the positions that we see is the position that he had to disclose at the end of the quarter. The quarter has started in October. And if you look at the prices of Palantir and Nvidia before the quarter ended, they were lower than where they are today.
Right.
And so if we assume that he opened even near the highs, but before the quarter ending, he's still losing money, in my opinion, because the stock is higher. Not only that, he has Molina, the non-option shares. He bought Molina before they reported earnings. If you look at Molina Healthcare, they're down 30% since they reported earnings.
Yep.
And so, again, Michael Burry, I said it before, if he didn't get his Hollywood movie, that guy would have been a random underperforming investor that nobody would know about.
Talk your ish, Neil.
But it's true. I mean, it's true. What was his sell tweet back in 2023? What the S&P went up over 50% since then. I mean, You know what they say about broken clocks, right? So I don't know why the market pays attention to Michael Burry that much. Because anyways, when you look at the portfolio that he manages, let's say, and you compare it to the other super investors, it's as if you compare me to him or to whatever. It's like the size of his portfolio is so small compared to Daniel Lowe or, of course, Warren Buffett or even Bill Ackman or something like that, that I don't understand why we are putting so much or giving this so much attention. But if he grabs headlines, then, I mean, it is what it is.
It's a fair point. Obviously, he grabs a lot of headlines, and that's why people think about it. By the way, speaking of that short, there is someone who came to counter. Someone bought $120 million of Palantir in the money call options, 160 strike February 2026. And they bought that at 191 at 189. So you do have another whale, maybe not $1 billion worth of calls, but someone saying that they think Palantir will be higher in February. Palmer Luckey, he's on CNBC. Let's go to him. We got 15 minutes until the AMD call.
Just had a maiden flight on Halloween. How significant is this milestone? And perhaps even more importantly, what does this mean in terms of production now?
Well, it's a huge milestone for us because this is, an autonomous fighter. You push a button to tell it to take off, and it goes off and it performs the rest of the mission. And that's exactly what we just demonstrated at the first flight. You don't have someone who's flying this thing from a remote control. You don't have a person telling you what to do. It does what you told it to do ahead of time, and it just goes down and executes on that mission. In terms of the name, so Y is a designation for a production representative prototype. F is for fighter, Q is for unmanned, 44 is a designation, and A is for alpha. So the actual name of the aircraft when it's in full production is going to just be the FQ-44. But for this initial demonstrator, you're right, it's the YFQ-44A.
Yeah, and you're also expanding internationally. You just opened this factory in Australia. We're seeing defense spending grow, not just here stateside, but globally as well. How does this position you?
Well, the thing that the YFQ-44A and the Ghost Shark have in common is that we've built these factories that are able to manufacture both of them at very large scale using largely autonomous manufacturing processes that are very simple to set up. We're designing products that can be made at scale at a price that is much cheaper than a lot of these legacy programs. And in both cases, we've gone from initial concept to production in extremely very short periods of time. Like the FQ-44, we went from selection to first flight in 556 days. That's the fastest a fighter program has moved in decades. With the Ghost Shark in Australia, we've in less than 3 years gone from the initial contract to real production robotic submarines coming off of our line in Sydney. That is extraordinarily fast. And I hope that the rest of the industry can kind of take notes from us and do things in a similar way.
So along those lines, and I say this knowing there's an information article just a couple weeks ago about the cash burn at Anduril, as you do stand up all these factories and you do scale all of this production, can you build and deliver to the military what it needs when it needs it?
Absolutely. And one of the reasons we want to spend our own money is because it allows us to move so much faster than relying on the government to pay for everything. I mean, one good example of that is the government shutdown right now. I'm sure they're going to work it out in the long run, but right now, Anduril's still moving through full throttle. All our test sites are operational. All of our programs are running. All of our products are still moving forward. And it's the same thing with our factories. I mean, the FQ-44 factory, which is going to start turning out Furies next year, production Furies. We started building that before we even won the contract because we were so confident that if we won the contract, we were desperately going to need it. And if we didn't win it, we'd be able to use it for making our other products. And so, look, we're burning a lot of money, but it is being put to very, very efficient use. We're not burning money on nap pods. We're not burning money on having parties. We're burning money building factories that the United States desperately needs for its national security.
All right, so we're talking about spending, though. We had Palantir down today despite another really strong quarter. There's concerns, there's debate, at least among investors, that a bubble is potentially inflating across this AI ecosystem with all the money that is being spent. How do you see it?
Well, Anduril is interesting because we're the AI company that kind of preempted a lot of this AI hype. The name Anduril Industries, the acronym is AI. And 8 years ago, we couldn't even talk about that because AI was seen as this technology of the future, never something that was actually going to work. Now AI is the hottest thing ever. Look, AI powers all of our systems. The FQ-44 has a Lattice brain. The Ghost Shark has a Lattice brain. All of our systems are running on our Lattice AI brains that powers all of our stuff. But I think that we're very different from a lot of these other AI companies in that AI is not the product. It's just the thing that makes the product work. I'm not selling AI software. I'm not selling an AI brain. I'm selling fighter jets. I'm selling submarines. I'm selling missiles. I'm selling heads-up displays. I'm selling rifles. I'm selling force fields that happen to be powered by AI. So I think it's a very, very different category than a lot of these other AI companies. And there's a world where this is a bubble. There's a world where it's not. I got to admit, I'm not really a finance person. I'm a techno head. I type on the computer really, really well. It's your job to tell us if it's a bubble or not.
Okay. So let's shift gears here a little bit because just a couple weeks ago, conditional approval from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency for another startup. So
put in the chat, if Anduril went public, we got AMD call in 12 minutes, would you buy that IPO or that DPO?
I would.
But I agree, that was a phenomenal answer.
What price do you think, if they go public today, what price would be the opening price, market cap?
Minimum 100 billion.
I agree.
Maybe they don't IPO. Maybe they IPO like 75. But let's say you don't get any allocation in the pre-run up. Like at 100, that's at 100 billion opening day. Would you buy that stock?
Tell me, Erebor, tell me about it.
Yes, Neil.
I mean, to me, I said it before. I'll buy whatever price they go public, and then I'll just accumulate over time. I do hope they do a direct listing and not an IPO. They do follow Palantir's way, so at least we can benefit from that. But yeah, it's a shame because like you said, I think that if they go public, it's going to be 100 billion. I don't know how much revenue they are generating, but they're growing like crazy. Yes, they're not profitable. He's clearly saying that they're burning cash, but at least they're burning cash on making products. And to be honest, he's talking about drones. He might want to come to Europe a bit because my dad is stuck in Germany right now because drones have been flying over the airport and nobody knows what the heck is going on here for the last couple of days. So things are getting quite interesting in Europe.
Wow. All right, there you go. I do think it will be 100 billion if they go public, and most likely if you don't have an allocation through an SPV, you're probably gonna have to buy at those levels.
I think it's a little too early to talk much about it, but as you know, I've been working on a side project to build a bank that is extremely reliable, really to build the bank that startups like, to build a bank that is the type of bank that defense startups need, that technology startups need. A lot of the people, when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, it almost took a lot of companies with them. The existing market is not really doing what needs to be done, and it's a little too early for me to be out there shilling it. We have a preliminary conditional approval, so I think right now I'm funding all of the operations myself. I think at some point in the future there will be more to say, but the bottom line is the U.S. used to have banks that were in the business of holding your money and helping companies succeed, and too many of them have forgotten that their job is not to be cute and financialize everything to the nth degree, even at the expense of their customers.
Okay, Palmer Luckey, look forward to having more of that conversation in the future. Thank you.
I see the majority of you in the chat saying, yes, you would buy. So there's obviously a lot of people that would be interested in Anduril. AMD right there, a little recovery from 240 to 248. We got the call in 9 minutes. Jose, if you were an analyst on the call, what would be the question that you asked Lisa Su?
The actual release date of the MI450, if they can give us a better timeline on that. I know they mentioned second half, but is it going to be traditionally they release on October? The MI355 came out a lot earlier, kind of like in June, July. Which is the MI450 going to follow? Is it going to follow the MI350 and come out early second half or more late second half? I'm expecting early second half, but would love to just get that confirmation from her.
Okay, same question
Agreed.
to you. Yeah, what would you ask?
Agreed. I mean, this time and this year it was during that June event, like Advancing AI event starts at the start of June. So would be great if that happens again next year, which would give them actually 6 months the time to ramp this thing up. And that could very much impact the year in a positive way. But what would I ask? Good question.
For Jensen's number. That's what I would ask.
I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you want Lisa Su's number?
That's how you know Jose and his true love, his true loyalty is to NVIDIA.
Yeah, I mean, I guess makes sense.
Neil, you don't even own NVIDIA, right? You just own AMD.
I have 3 shares of NVIDIA now.
Okay, so we know who's the real AMD bull when it comes to this. It's not Jose.
I have 3 shares. Every time we cover NVIDIA, I buy 1 extra. Like a baller move, you know. But no, what I could ask is maybe since the announcement was made, because they did say that it's not only OpenAI that's interested in their like upcoming products. So maybe since then, maybe they've got new calls. That could be something. But again, I don't think they will reveal a lot. They never really do reveal a lot during the earnings call, which is an issue. But I don't mind if the stock remains like this. The stock is basically flat right now, like 0.5% down.
Jose, would you ask at all about governments or sovereign AI at all?
I mean, they did already give us more that they run a few supercomputers here in the United States. So we're definitely seeing some traction there. Now, what I found interesting was with one of the biggest supercomputer that they announced, they talked about a different type of chip, the MI430, which was the first time I've heard about that one. But they mentioned it's a unique way to kind of help with simulations and some type of the workloads that are actually used in sovereign in more simulation stuff. So I really want to know when they have that AI event, because I want them to talk about the 430s, the 455s, and all the different chips that they can make thanks to the kind of design wins that they have and how they design these chips. They're able to create a lot of variations out of it.
Yep, that's fair. And with AMD up 107% year to date, I would imagine both of you that are pretty heavy in the stock, you're not complaining about this thing at 240. Same thing with me with Palantir, right? Like not at 210, it's at 180. It's like, okay, not too upset. Not
at all.
Yeah, I would not be crying about that. So, I mean, it is important to have context. Obviously, we all want the stocks to go higher, but at its core, on an ugly day where about 300 billion is getting liquidated from crypto, just to have the stock be relatively stable is pretty decent. Bitcoin right here, 99.7. By the way, I'm seeing a headline, guys, and I believe this is accurate, but Schwab Asset Management will support Elon's $1 trillion pay package.
Yeah, that's what I heard earlier today. But when I think you mentioned something else, I was confused that I read it wrong. But that's what I saw earlier today, that they were gonna approve it.
Yeah, it looks like about 5-6 hours ago they weren't, and that's when you had a lot of the Tesla influencers rebel, and I guess that made a difference. They threatened to take out their assets, and Schwab pivoted. It's kind of incredible. So you are seeing that change right there, and the shareholder call is in 2 days, so that's also going to be important. Jose, you did say you were buying Nebius and CoreWeave. Is there any reason today that you bought, or just a dip buy?
Just a dip buy. I mean, what we heard from all the big hyperscalers is the same thing. I mean, they need more compute, and these are two players that I believe can benefit dramatically because they have kind of just the power, the infrastructure, and kind of a software stack behind it, and really big players. They know how to scale right now, and I think that's what the market needs. So more of like dip buying. In forms of like how aggressive it was to my overall portfolio, nothing crazy. In forms of aggressive, I still have plenty of cash available to use if needed.
We got 3 minutes into the call. Bitcoin right here bouncing back up to 100. Neil, I know you're long in Nebius, and Neil has performed phenomenally on that. So congrats on that. We were actually live when the Microsoft deal came out. I'm just curious, your quick opinion on the Microsoft Iran deal. Do you see that as positive for data centers in general? And do you think Iran got a good deal out of that?
I own that as well, actually. So
okay, there you go.
Quite happy with that announcement, although they probably chose like the worst time to announce something like that. Because usually when you announce it, I mean, the stock has basically not moved that much, I would say, since the deal. Yes, it exploded 23% on the announcement, but then on that day, it ended 11% on the upside. Today, it went down, but it recovered a little bit. It's a good deal. Again, it puts Iran on the map, which is good. It gets them Microsoft, it gets them momentum, it gets them GPUs. The Dell is helping them as well with everything. So it puts them on the map. And as we've heard Satya say, look, we need more power, right? We need places to put our chips. And I think we've seen Cypher with an AWS deal. And so it's good news. They do report on Thursday after the market closes. So I guess they'll talk a little bit more about the business on Thursday, what they're expecting. But it's still a long way to go, right? To generate an insane amount of revenue, you either need co-location deals or you need to go buy a huge amount of GPUs. Because if you don't have the GPUs, you're not going to generate anything. You can have the power, but again, you need power, you need GPUs. GPUs also need power, so it works together. Again, it's a good deal, puts them on the map, just like the Microsoft Nebius deal put them very much on the map, although Nebius, again, has better track record because they come from Yandex, and Yandex was a pretty big company before, so I'm happy with the announcements.
Okay, there you go. I think it seems to validate that data center spend across the entire board is not slowing down. By the way, this is the post, guys. Sawyer, who's a very big member of the Tesla community, saying that he's confirmed with Schwab that they will be voting for the compensation package. I think if he and Jason DeBold didn't make the public arguments this morning about threatening to take their assets out of Schwab, this wouldn't have happened. So it really does show the power of retail. And at the end of the day, these are two guys on Twitter that have an audience that publicly crowdsource and put out their due diligence. And they were able to get a multi-trillion-dollar asset institution to change their mind. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see. So that's what you got on Tesla. All right, AMD call should be happening soon. 246 on the stock, down about a couple percent after hours. Again, they beat on the top and the bottom, revenue up 36% year over year. Gross margins are strong, above 50%. We are going to see what Lisa Su says on this call. And then we will keep going from there. SMCI also reported earnings. We already kind of knew those preliminary results. Still, the stock just getting hit. Down about 14% after hours. Upstart down 7%. Pinterest down 15%. Axon down 20%. Toast is up a bit. Amgen's up a little bit. Apps is up a little bit. Skyworks is down. A-Lab is down. Kratos is down, even though they had some beats on the top and the bottom. Pinterest is down. Upstart is down. And then Rivian, slightly green, but still relatively flat compared to the rest of the market as well. Bitcoin and Ethereum, very small bounce. You're seeing 100.2, maybe 98 is going to be the consistent bottom as per the trend over the past 4 times it touched 98. Ethereum bouncing from 3,056 to 3,200.
Just quick question here. I know you talked about it earlier about that Tom Lee tweet where he mentions he thinks the bottom is in based on the comments. Do you think he's talking more about the crypto space, or because it seems like the crypto market has seen kind of a pullback for a few days now? Just because luckily in my AI portfolio, I haven't really seen much of a dip until today. Do you think he's talking more about crypto or just overall general equities?
He's probably talking about general, but I think today specifically he's mentioning more about crypto because the liquidation levels on crypto are something that's just very aggressive. I mean, S&P down 1% is whatever, but Ethereum down 15% in a day is a bit more aggressive. So
I think the call starts, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Call starting right now. There we go. Yep.
Patience, Neil. Geez.
I mean, I don't want to miss Lisa Su.
Our Executive Vice President, CFO, and Treasurer. This is a live call and will be replayed via webcast on our website. Before we begin the call, I would like to note that Dr. Lisa Su, along with members of AMD's executive team, will present our long-term financial strategy at our Financial Analyst Day next Tuesday, November 11th in New York. Dr. Lisa Su will present at the UBS Global Technology and AI Conference on Wednesday, December 3rd. And finally, Jean Hu will present at the 23rd Annual Barclays Global Technology Conference on Wednesday, December 10th. Today's discussion contains forward-looking statements based on our current beliefs, assumptions, and expectations, speak only as of today, and as such involve risks and uncertainties that could cause results to differ materially from our current expectations. Please refer to the cautionary statement in our press release for more information on these factors that could cause actual results to differ materially. And with that, I will hand the call over to Lisa.
Thank you, Matt, and good afternoon to all those listening today. We delivered an outstanding quarter with record revenue and profitability reflecting broad-based demand across our data center AI, server, and PC businesses. Revenue grew 36% year over year to $9.2 billion. Net income rose 31%, and free cash flow more than tripled, led by record EPYC, Ryzen, and Instinct processor sales. Our record third quarter performance marks a clear step up in our growth trajectory as a combination of our expanding compute franchise and rapidly scaling data center AI business drives significant revenue and earnings growth. Turning to our segments, data center segment revenue increased 22% year over year to a record $4.3 billion, led by the ramp of our Instinct MI350 series GPUs and server share gains. Server CPU revenue reached an all-time high as adoption of 5th-gen EPYC Turin processors accelerated rapidly, accounting for nearly half of overall EPYC revenue in the quarter. Sales of our prior generation EPYC processors were also very robust in the quarter, reflecting their strong competitive positioning across a wide range of workloads. In cloud, we had record sales as hyperscalers expanded EPYC CPU deployments to power both their own first-party services and public cloud offerings. Hyperscalers launched more than 160 EPYC-powered instances in the quarter, including new Turin offerings from Google, Microsoft Azure, Alibaba, and others that deliver unmatched performance and price performance across a wide range of workloads. There are now more than 1,350 public EPYC cloud instances available globally, a nearly 50% increase from a year ago. Adoption of EPYC in the cloud by large businesses more than tripled year over year as our on-prem share gains are driving increased demand from enterprise customers for AMD cloud instances to support hybrid compute. We expect cloud demand to remain very strong as hyperscalers are significantly increasing their general-purpose compute capacity as they scale their AI workloads. Many customers are now planning substantially larger CPU build-outs over the coming quarters to support increased demands from AI, serving as a powerful new catalyst for our server business. Turning to enterprise adoption, EPYC server sell-through increased sharply year over year and sequentially, reflecting accelerating enterprise adoption. More than 170 fifth-gen EPYC platforms are in market from HPE, Dell, Lenovo, Supermicro, and others, our broadest portfolio to date, with solutions optimized for virtually every enterprise workload. We closed large new wins in the quarter with leading Fortune 500 technology, telecom, financial services, retail, streaming, social, and automotive companies as we expand our footprint across major verticals. The performance and TCO advantages of our EPYC portfolio, combined with our increased go-to-market investments and the expanded breadth of offerings from the leading server and solutions providers, position us well for continued enterprise share gains. Looking ahead, we remain on track to launch our next generation 2-nanometer Venice processors in 2026. Venice Silicon is in the labs and performing very well, delivering substantial gains in performance, efficiency, and compute density. Customer pull and engagement for Venice are the strongest we have seen, reflecting our competitive positioning and the growing demand for more data center compute. Multiple cloud OEM partners have already brought their first Venice platforms online, setting the stage for broad solution availability and cloud deployments at launch. Turning to data center AI, our Instinct GPU business continues to accelerate. Revenue grew year over year, driven by the sharp ramp of MI350 series GPU sales and broader MI300 series deployments. Multiple MI350 series deployments are underway with large cloud and AI providers, with additional large-scale rollouts on track to ramp over the coming quarters. Oracle became the first hyperscaler to publicly offer MI355X instances, delivering significantly higher performance for real-time inference and multimodal training workloads on OCI's Zeta-scale supercluster. NeoCloud providers Crusoe, DigitalOcean, TensorWave, Vultr, and others also began ramping availability of their MI350 series public cloud offerings in the quarter. MI300 series GPU deployments with AI developers also broadened in the quarter. IBM and Zyphra will train multiple generations of future multimodal models on a large-scale MI300X cluster, and Cohere is now using MI300X at OCI to train its Command family of models. For inference, a number of new partners, including Character AI and Luma AI, are now running production workloads on MI300 series, demonstrating the performance and TCO advantages of our architecture for real-time AI applications. We also made significant progress on the software front in the quarter. We launched ROCm 7, our most advanced and feature-rich release to date, delivering up to 4.6x higher inference and 3x higher training performance compared to ROCm 6. ROCm 7 also introduces seamless distributed inference, enhanced code portability across hardware, and new enterprise tools that simplify the deployment and management of Instinct solutions. Importantly, our open software strategy is resonating with developers. Hugging Face, VLLM, SGLang, and others contributed directly to ROCm 7 as we make ROCm the open platform for AI development at scale. Looking ahead, our data center AI business is entering its next phase of growth, with customer momentum building rapidly ahead of the launch of our next-gen MI400 series accelerators and Helios rack-scale solutions in 2026. The MI400 series combines a new compute engine with industry-leading memory capacity and advanced networking capabilities to deliver a major leap in performance for the most demanding AI training and inference workloads. The MI400 series brings together our silicon, software, and systems expertise to power Helios, our rack-scale AI platform designed to redefine performance and efficiency at data center scale. Helios integrates our Instinct MI400 series GPUs, Venice EPYC CPUs, and Pensando NICs in a double-wide rack solution optimized for the performance, power, cooling, and serviceability required for the next generation of AI infrastructure, and supports Meta's new Open Rack wide standard. Development of both our MI400 series GPUs and Helios rack is progressing rapidly, supported by deep technical engagements across a growing set of hyperscalers, AI companies, and OEM and ODM partners to enable large-scale deployments next year. The ZT Systems team we acquired last year is playing a critical role in Helios development, leveraging their decades of experience building infrastructure for the world's largest cloud providers to ensure customers can deploy and scale Helios quickly within their environments. In addition, last week we completed the sale of the ZT manufacturing business to Semnina and entered a strategic partnership that makes them our lead manufacturing partner for Helios. This collaboration will accelerate large customer deployments of our rack-scale AI solutions. On the customer front, we announced a comprehensive multi-year agreement with OpenAI to deploy 6 gigawatts of Instinct GPUs, with the first gigawatt of MI450 series accelerators scheduled to start coming online in the second half of 2026. The partnership establishes AMD as a core compute provider for OpenAI and underscores the strength of our hardware, software, and full-stack solutions strategy. Moving forward, AMD and OpenAI will work even more closely on future hardware, software, networking, and system-level roadmaps and technologies. OpenAI's decision to use AMD Instinct platforms for its most sophisticated and complex AI workloads sends a clear signal that our Instinct GPUs and ROCm open software stack deliver the performance and TCO required for the most demanding deployments. We expect this partnership will significantly accelerate our data center AI business, with the potential to generate well over $100 billion in revenue over the next few years. Oracle announced they will also be a lead launch partner for the MI450 series, deploying tens of thousands of MI450 GPUs across Oracle Cloud infrastructure beginning in 2026 and expanding through 2027 and beyond. Our Instinct platforms are also gaining traction with sovereign AI and national supercomputing programs. In the UAE, Cisco and G42 will deploy a large-scale AI cluster powered by Instinct MI350X GPUs to support the nation's most advanced AI workloads. In the US, we are partnering with the Department of Energy and Oak Ridge National Labs to build Lux AI, the first AI factory dedicated to scientific discovery, together with our industrial partners OCI and HPE. Powered by our Instinct MI350 series GPUs, EPYC CPUs, and Pensando networking, Lux AI will provide a secure, open platform for large-scale training and distributed inference when it comes online in early 2026. The U.S. Department of Energy also selected our upcoming MI430X GPUs and EPYC Venice CPUs to power Discovery, the next flagship supercomputer at Oak Ridge, designed to set the standard for AI-driven scientific computing and extend U.S. high-performance computing leadership. Our MI430X GPUs are designed specifically to power nation-scale AI and supercomputing programs, extending our leadership powering the world's most powerful computers to enable the next generation of scientific breakthroughs. In summary, our AI business is entering a new phase of growth and is on a clear trajectory towards tens of billions in annual revenue in 2027, driven by our leadership rack-scale solutions, expanding customer adoption, and an increasing number of large-scale global deployments. I look forward to providing more details on our data center AI growth plans at our Financial Analyst Day next week. In client and gaming, segment revenue increased 73% year over year to $4 billion. Our PC processor business is performing exceptionally well, with record quarterly sales as the strong demand environment and breadth of our leadership Ryzen portfolio accelerates growth. Desktop CPU sales reached an all-time high, with record channel sell-in and sell-out led by robust demand for our Ryzen 9000 processors, which deliver unmatched performance across gaming, productivity, and content creation applications. OEM sell-through of Ryzen-powered notebooks also increased sharply in the quarter, reflecting sustained end customer pull for premium gaming and commercial AMD PCs. Commercial momentum accelerated in the quarter, with Ryzen PC sell-through up more than 30% year over year, as enterprise adoption grew sharply, driven by large wins with Fortune 500 companies across healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, automotive, and pharmaceuticals. Looking ahead, we see significant opportunity to continue growing our client business faster than the overall PC market, based on the strength of our Ryzen portfolio, broader platform coverage, and expanded go-to-market investments. In gaming, revenue increased 181% year over year to $1.3 billion. Semi-custom revenue increased as Sony and Microsoft prepare for the upcoming holiday sales period. In gaming graphics, revenue and channel sellout grew significantly, driven by the performance per dollar leadership of our Radeon 9000 family. FSR4, our machine learning upscaling technology that boosts frame rates and creates more immersive visuals, saw rapid adoption this quarter, with the number of supported games doubling since launch to more than 85. Turning to our embedded segment, revenue decreased 8% year over year to $857 million. Sequentially, revenue and sell-through increased as the demand environment strengthened across multiple markets, led by test and emulation, aerospace and defense, and industrial vision and healthcare. We expanded our embedded product portfolio with new solutions that extend our leadership across adaptive and x86 computing. We began shipping industry-leading Versal Prime Series Gen 2 adaptive SoCs to lead customers, delivered our first Versal RF development platforms to support several next-generation design wins, and introduced the Ryzen Embedded 9000 series with industry-leading performance per watt and latency for robotics, edge computing, and smart factory applications. The design momentum remains very strong across our embedded portfolio. We are on track for a second straight year of record design wins, already totaling more than $14 billion year to date, reflecting the growing adoption of our leadership products across a broad range of markets and expanding set of applications. In summary, our record third quarter results and strong fourth quarter outlook reflect the significant momentum building across our business, driven by sustained product leadership and disciplined execution. Our data center AI, server, and PC businesses are each entering periods of strong growth, led by an expanding TAM, accelerating adoption of our Instinct platforms, and EPYC and Ryzen CPU share gains. The demand for compute has never been greater, as every major breakthrough in business, science, and society now relies on access to more powerful, efficient, and intelligent computing. These trends are driving unprecedented growth opportunities for AMD. I look forward to sharing more on our strategy, roadmaps, and long-range financial targets at our financial analyst meeting next week. Now I'll turn the call over to Jean to provide additional color on our third quarter results. Jean?
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll start with a review of our financial results and then provide our outlook for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025. We're pleased with our strong third quarter financial results. We delivered a record revenue of $9.2 billion, up 36% year over year, exceeding the high end of our guidance, reflecting strong momentum across our business. Our third quarter results do not include any revenue from shipments of the MI308 GPU products to China. Revenue increased 20% sequentially, driven by strong growth in the data center and the client and gaming segment, and modest growth in the embedded segment. Gross margin was 54%, up 40 basis points year over year, primarily driven by product mix. Operating expenses were approximately $2.8 billion, an increase of 42% year over year as we continue to invest aggressively in R&D to capitalize on significant AI opportunities and go-to-market activities for revenue growth. Operating income was $2.2 billion, representing a 24% operating margin. Taxes, interest expense, and other totaled $273 million. For the third quarter of 2025, diluted earnings per share were $1.20 compared to 92 cents a year ago, an increase of 30% year-over-year. Now turning to our reportable segments, starting with the data center. Data center segment revenue was a record of $4.3 billion, up 22% year-over-year, primarily driven by the strong demand for fifth-generation EPYC processors and Instinct MI350 series GPUs. On a sequential basis, data center revenue increased 34%, primarily driven by strong ramp of our AMD Instinct MI350 series GPUs. The data center segment operating income was $1.1 billion, or 25% of revenue, compared to $1 billion a year ago, or 29% of revenue, driven by higher revenue, partially offset by higher R&D investment to capitalize on significant AI opportunities. Client and gaming segment revenue was a record of $4 billion, up 73% year-over-year and 12% sequentially, driven by strong demand for the latest generation of client and graphic processors and stronger sales of console gaming products. In the client business, revenue was a record $2.8 billion, up 46% year-over-year and 10% sequentially, driven by record sales of our Ryzen processors and a richer product mix. Gaming revenue rose to $1.3 billion, up 181% year-over-year and 16% sequentially, reflecting higher semi-customer revenue and strong demand for our Rivian GPUs. Client gaming segment operating income was $867 million, or 21% of revenue, compared to $288 million, or 12% a year ago, driven by higher revenue, partially offset by increase in go-to-market investment to support our revenue growth. Embedded segment revenue was $857 million, down 8% year-over-year. Embedded was up 4% sequentially as we saw certain end market demand strengthen. Embedded segment operating income was $283 million, or 33% of revenue, compared to $372 million, or 40% a year ago. The decline in operating income was primarily due to lower revenue and end market mix. Before I review the balance sheet and the cash flow, as a reminder, we closed the sale of Zeta system manufacturing business to Sanmina last week. The third quarter financial results of the Zeta manufacturing business are reported separately in our financial statements as discontinued operations and are excluded from our non-GAAP financials. Turning to the balance sheet and the cash flow, during the quarter, we generated $1.8 billion in cash from operating activities of continuing operations, and the free cash flow was a record of $1.5 billion. We returned $89 million to shareholders through share repurchases, resulting in $1.3 billion in share repurchases for the first 3 quarters of 2025. Exiting the quarter, we have a $9.4 billion authorization remaining under our share repurchase program. At the end of the quarter, cash equivalent, and short-term investment was $7.2 billion. Our total debt was $3.2 billion. Now turning to our fourth quarter 2025 outlook. Please note that our fourth quarter outlook does not include any revenue from AMD Instinct MI308 shipment to China. For the fourth quarter of 2025, we expect revenue to be approximately $9.6 billion, plus or minus $300 million. The midpoint of our guidance represents approximately 25% year-over-year revenue growth, driven by strong double-digit growth in our data center and client and gaming segment, and a return to growth in our embedded segment. Sequentially, we expect revenue to grow by approximately 4%, driven by double-digit growth in the data center segment with strong growth in server and continued ramp of our MI350 series GPUs. A decline in our client and gaming segment, with client revenue increasing and gaming revenue down strong double digits. and the double-digit growth in our embedded segment. In addition, we expect fourth quarter non-GAAP gross margin to be approximately 54.5%, and we expect non-GAAP operating expenses to be approximately $2.8 billion. We expect net interest and other expenses to be a gain of approximately $37 million. We expect our non-GAAP effective tax rate to be 13%, and diluted share count is expected to be approximately 1.65 billion shares. In closing, we executed very well, delivering record revenue for the first 3 quarters of the year. The strategic investment we are making position us well to capitalize on the expanding AI opportunities across all our end markets, driving sustainable long-term revenue growth and earnings expansion for compelling shareholder value creation. With that, I'll turn it back to Matt for the Q&A session.
Thank you.
All right, Q&A.
John, we can go ahead and poll the audience for questions now. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now be conducting a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate that your line is in the queue. You may press star 2 to remove yourself from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. We ask that you please limit yourself to 1 question and 1 follow-up. Thank you. One moment while we poll for questions. And the first question comes from the line of Vivek Arya with Bank of America Securities. Please proceed with your question.
Thank you for the question. I had a near-term and a medium-term question. For the near-term, Lisa, I was hoping if you could give us some sense of the CPU, GPU mix in Q3 and Q4, and just tactically, how are you managing this transition from your MI355 towards MI400 in second half of next year? Can you continue to grow in the first half of next year from these Q4 levels, or should we expect some kind of, pause or digestion before customers get on board the MI400 series?
Sure, Vivek. Thanks for the question. So a couple comments. We had a very strong Q3 for the data center business. I think we saw strong outperformance in both the server as well as the data center AI business. And reminder that was without any MI308 sales. The MI355 has ramped really nicely. We expected a sharp ramp into the third quarter, and that proceeded well. And as I mentioned, we've also seen some strengthening of the server CPU sales, and not just, let's call it near term, but we're seeing our customers are giving us some visibility in the next few quarters that they see elevated demand, which is positive. Going into the fourth quarter, again, strong data center performance, up double digits sequentially, and up in both server and data center AI. Again, on the strength of those businesses. And to your question, I mean, we're not guiding into 2026 yet, obviously, but given what we see today, we see a very good demand environment into 2026. So we would expect that MI355 continue to ramp in the first half of 26, and then as we mentioned, MI450 series comes online in the second half of 2026, and we would expect a sharper ramp as we go into the second half of 2026 of our data center AI business.
Got it. And for my follow-up, there is some industry debate, Lisa, about OpenAI's ability to kind of simultaneously engage with all three merchant and the ASIC suppliers, just given the constraints around power and capex and their existing kind of CSP partners and so forth. So how are you thinking about that? Like, what is your level of visibility in the initial engagement, and then more importantly, how it kind of broadens out into 27? Is there a way that one can model what the allocation would be, or just how should we think about the level of visibility in this very important customer? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Vivek. Look, we're very obviously very excited about our relationship with OpenAI. It's a very significant relationship. Think about it as it's a pretty unique time for AI right now. There's just so much compute demand across all of the workloads. I think in our work with OpenAI, we are planning, multiple quarters out, ensuring that the power is available, that the supply chain is available. The key point is the first gigawatt we will start deploying in the second half of 26, and that work is well underway. And we continue, just given where lead times are and things like that, we are planning very closely with OpenAI as well as the CSP partners to ensure that we're all prepared with Helios so that we can deploy the technology as we stated. So I think overall we're working very closely together. I think we have good visibility into the MI450 ramp, and things are progressing very well.
And the next question comes from the line of Thomas O'Malley with Barclays. Please proceed with your question.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my question, and congrats on the good results. I had a first question on Helios. Obviously, with the announcement at OCP, customer interaction has to be growing. Could you talk about into next year what your view is on discrete sales versus system sales? When do you see that crossover kind of happening, and just what initial responses have been from customers after getting a better look at it at the show?
Yeah, sure, Tom. Thanks for the question. There's a lot of excitement around MI450 and Helios. I think the OCP reception was phenomenal. We had numerous customers and frankly bringing their engineering teams to understand more about the system, more about how it's built. There's always been some discussion about just how complex these rack scale systems are, and they certainly are. And we are very proud of the Helios design. I think it has all of the features, functions, reliability, performance, power performance that you would expect. I think the interest in MI450 and Helios has just expanded over the last number of weeks, certainly with some of the announcements that we've made with OpenAI and OCI, as well as the OCP show with Meta. I think overall, from our perspective, I think things are going really well in both the development as well as the customer engagement there. So in terms of rack scale solutions, we would expect that the early customers for MI450 will really be around the rack scale solutions. We will have other form factors as well for the MI450 series, but there's a lot of interest in the full rack scale solution.
Super helpful. And then as my follow-up, it's a broader question as well, and similar to kind of what Vivek asked. But if you look at the power requirements that are out there for some of the early announcements into next year, they're pretty substantial. And then you also have component issues that you're seeing across interconnected memory. Just from your perspective as an industry leader, where do you think that the constraint will be? Will it come first with components not being available, or do you think that both data center footprint in terms of infrastructure and or power is the gating factor to some of these deployments into next year, just as we really see some larger numbers start to get deployed? Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Tom. I think what you're pointing out is what we as an industry have to do, together. The entire ecosystem has to plan together, and that is exactly what we're doing. So we're working with our customers on their power plans, over the next, actually, I would say 2 years, from a silicon and a memory and a packaging and a component supply chain. We're working with our supply chain partners to make sure all of that capacity is available. I can tell you from our visibility, we feel very good that we have a strong supply chain that is prepared to deliver sort of these very significant growth rates and large amount of compute that is out there. And I think all of this is going to be tight. I think there is you can see from some of the CapEx spending that there's a desire to put on more compute, and we're working closely together. I will say that the ecosystem is very, I would say, works very hard when there are these types of let's call it tightness out there. And so we also see things open up as that we're working, getting more power, getting more supply, all of those things. So the net is, I think we are well positioned to grow significantly as we transition into the second half of 26 into 27 with the MI450 and Helios.
And the next question comes from the line of Joshua Buchalter with TD Cowen. Please proceed with your question.
Hey guys, thank you for taking my question. Actually wanted to start on the CPU side. So, you and your largest competitor in that space have talked about near-term strength supporting AI workloads on general purpose servers from agentic. Maybe you could speak to the sustainability of these trends and they called out supply constraints. Are you seeing any of those in your supply chain? And are we in a period where we should think about the CPU business on the data center side as being aseasonal, or should we expect normal seasonality in the first half of next year? Thank you.
Sure, Josh. So, a couple of comments on the CPU server side. I think we've been watching this trend for the last couple of quarters, and we started seeing, let's call it, some positive signs in CPU demand actually a couple quarters ago. And what's happened as we've gone through 2025 is now we see sort of a broadening of that CPU demand. So we have a number of our large hyperscale clients are now forecasting significant CPU builds into 2026. And so from that standpoint, I think it's a positive demand environment. And it is because AI is requiring quite a bit of general purpose compute, and that's great. It catches our cycle as we're ramping Turin. So the Turin ramp has gone extremely fast, and we see good pull for that product, as well as consistent strong demand for our Genoa product line as well. So back to seasonality as we go into 2026. I think we expect that the CPU demand environment into 2026 is going to be, let's call it, positive. And so from we'll guide more as we get into the end of the year, but I would expect a positive demand environment for CPUs as we see this demand. I do feel like it's durable. It is not a short-term thing. I think it is a multi-quarter phenomenon as we're seeing just much more demand as these AI workloads really turn into have to do real work.
So, Josh, on the supply side, we have supplies to support our growth, and especially in 2026, we're prepared for the ramp.
Got it. Thank you both. And for my follow-up, Lisa, in your prepared remarks, you highlighted progress you guys have made on ROCm 7. I know this has been an area of focus, and can you maybe spend a minute or two talking about where you feel you're at competitively with ROCm? How wide is the breadth of support you're able to offer to the developer community? And what areas you still have work to do to close any potential competitive gap? Thank you.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for the question. Look, we've made great progress with ROCm. ROCm 7 is a significant step forward in terms of performance and sort of all the frameworks that we support. It's been really, really important for us to get sort of day zero support of all the newest models and native support for all the newest frameworks. I would say most customers who are starting with AMD now have a very very smooth experience as they're bringing on their workloads to AMD. There's obviously always more work to do. We're continuing to augment the libraries and the overall environment that we have, especially as we go to some of the newer workloads where you see training and inference really coming together with reinforcement learning. But overall, I think very strong progress with ROCm. And by the way, we're going to continue to invest in this area because it's so important to really make our customer development experience as smooth as we can.
And the next question comes from the line of CJ Muse with Cantor Fitzgerald. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. I guess first question, as you think about the 355 to 400 transition and moving to full rack scale, is there a framework that we should be thinking about for gross margins throughout calendar 26?
Yes, CJ, thanks for the question. I think in general, as we said in the past, for our data center GPU business, the gross margin continue to improve when we ramp a new generation of product. Typically, at the beginning of the ramp, you go through a transition period, then you will normalize the gross margin. We're not guiding 2026, but our priority in data center GPU business is to really expand the top line revenue growth and the gross margin dollars. And of course, at the same time, we'll continue to drive the gross margin percentage up too.
Very helpful. And I guess maybe Lisa to kind of probe kind of your growth expectations through 26 and beyond. And you talked about tens of billions of dollars in 27. Can you kind of speak at a high level how you're thinking about OpenAI and other large customers, and how we should be thinking about the breadth of your customer kind of penetration throughout calendar 26, 27? Any help on that would be super. Thank you.
Sure, CJ, and we'll certainly address this topic in more detail at our analyst day next week. But let me give you some maybe higher level points. Look, I think we're really excited about our roadmap. I think we have seen great traction amongst the largest customers. The OpenAI relationship is extremely important to us, and it's great to be able to talk at the multi-gigawatt scale, because I think that really is what we believe we can deliver to the marketplace. But there are numerous other customers that we're in deep engagements with. We talked about OCI. We also announced a couple of systems with the Department of Energy that are significant systems, and we have many other engagements. So the way you should think about it is, there are multiple customers that we would expect to have, let's call it, very significant scale in the MI 450 generation, and that's sort of the breadth of the customer engagements that we've built, and it's also how we're dimensioning the supply chain to ensure that we can supply certainly our OpenAI partnership, as well as the numerous other partnerships that are well underway.
And the next question comes from the line of Stacy Rasgon with Bernstein Research. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my questions. My first one, for data center in the quarter, what grew more year over year on a dollar and a percentage basis, the servers or the GPUs?
So I think, Stacy, I think our commentary was, data center, grew nicely year over year in both of the areas, both for servers as well as data center AI.
Yeah, but could you, just directionally, which one grew more than the other? I'm not even asking for numbers, just directionally.
Directionally, they are similar, but server is a little bit better.
Server's a little bit better. Okay. And then on the guidance, you said that servers, data center overall up double digits. You said servers up strong double digits. What does that mean? Is that like more than 20%, or like how do I think about what you mean by strong double digits? Because again, I'm trying to for the GPUs for the year, do you think you were saying roughly like $6.5 billion or something last quarter for the year. Do you think it's still in that range? It kind of feels like they're still there.
Stacy, here's what we guided. We guided sequentially data center will be up double digits, and we said server will go up strongly, and at the same time, we also said that MI 350 also going to ramp. So we did not. I don't think what you just mentioned was what we guided.
Oh, okay. So if you say servers are up strongly, does that mean they're up more than the Instinct? Because you didn't really make that commentary on Instinct.
No, look, Stacy, let me say it. So data center up sequentially double-digit percentage. Both server and data center AI are going to be up as well. And from the standpoint of where they are, I think we're pleased with how both of them are performing. The strong double-digit percentage comment perhaps was applying to the year-over-year commentary.
Thank you. And the next question comes from the line of Timothy Arcuri with UBS. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks a lot. Lisa, I know it's only been a month since you announced this idea with OpenAI, but can you give us maybe some anecdotes of how this has influenced your position in the market with other customers? Like, are you engaged with customers that you wouldn't have been engaged with if you hadn't done this deal? That's the first part of the question. And then the second part relates to a prior question, which is that it looks like they could be something like half of your data center GPU revenue in the 2027, 2028 timeframe. So how much risk in your mind is there around that single customer for you?
Sure, Tim. So let me say a couple things. First of all, the OpenAI deal has been in the works for quite some time. We're happy to be able to talk about it broadly and also talk about the scale of the deployment and the scale of the engagement being multi-year, multi-gigawatt. I think all those things were very positive. We've had a number of other engagements as well. I think over the last, if you were asked to ask specifically over the last month, I would say that it's been a number of factors. I think the OpenAI deal was one of them. I think being able to show the Helios rack in full force at Open Compute was also a very important milestone because people could see the engineering and sort of the capabilities of the Helios rack. And if you're asking whether we've seen a increase of interest or an acceleration of interest, I think the answer is yes. I think customers are broadly engaged and perhaps broadly engaged at higher scale, which is a good thing. And then from the standpoint of customer concentration, I think a very key foundation for us in this business is to have a broad set of customers. We've always been engaged with a number of customers. I think we're dimensioning the supply chain in such a way that we would have ample supply to have multiple customers at similar scale as we go into the 27-28 timeframe, and that's certainly the goal.
Thank you. And the next question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, thanks for taking the questions. I'm curious on the server strength that you're seeing, if there's a way to unpack how we think about unit growth versus ASP expansion as we move through the Turin product cycle, and how do you guys just kind of think about that going forward?
Yeah, so Aaron, on the server CPU side, Turin certainly is more content, so we see ASPs grow as Turin ramps. But I also mentioned in the prepared remarks that we're actually seeing a good mix of Genoa still there. So Turin is ramping very quickly, but we are also seeing Genoa demand continue well as the hyperscalers are not able to move everything to the latest generation immediately. So from our standpoint, I think it's broad-based CPU demand across a number of different workloads. This is, a little bit of this is, let's call it server refresh, but it seems like, from our, customer conversations, the workloads are, broadly due to, the fact that, AI workloads are spawning more traditional compute, so, more build-out is necessary. I think going forward, one of the things that we see is there is more of a desire for the latest generation. And so, as much as we're happy with how Turin is ramping, we're seeing actually a strong pull on Venice and a lot of early engagement in Venice, which kind of, says a lot about, kind of the importance of general purpose compute, at this point in time.
Yeah, thanks. As a quick follow-up, I'm curious, and not to steal maybe, the discussion from next week, but, Lisa, you've been very consistent, like, $500 billion of total AI silicon TAM opportunity and obviously progressing above that. I'm curious, as we think about these large, megawatt kind of deployments, how you think about, the updated views on that AI silicon TAM as we look forward?
Well, Aaron, as you said, not to take too much away from what we're going to talk about next week. Look, we're going to give you a full picture of how we see the market next week. But suffice it to say, from everything that we see the AI compute TAM just going up. So, we'll have some updated numbers for you. But the view is, whereas 500 billion sounded like a lot when we first talked about it, we think there is a larger opportunity, for us over the next few years, and that's pretty exciting.
Thank you. The next question comes from Antoine Chkaiban with New Street Research. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. So I'd like to ask about whether the developing relationship with OpenAI could be a tailwind to the development of your software stack. Can you maybe tell us about how the collaboration works in practice and whether the partnership contributed in making ROCm more robust?
Yeah, Antoine, thanks for the question. I think the answer is yes. I think all of our large customers contribute to let's call it a broadening and deepening of our software stack overall. I think the relationship with OpenAI is certainly one where our plans are to work deeply together on hardware as well as software as well as systems and future roadmap. And from that standpoint, the work that we're doing together with them on Triton is certainly very valuable. But I will say beyond OpenAI, the work that we do with all of our largest customers are super helpful to strengthen the software stack. And we have put significant new resources into not just the largest customers, but we are working with a broad set of AI native companies who are actively developing on the ROCm stack. We get lots of feedback. I think we've made significant progress in the training and inference stack, and we're going to continue to double down and triple down in this area. So more customers that use A&D, I think all of that goes to enhancing the ROCm stack. And we're actually, we'll talk a little bit more about this next week, but we're also using AI to help us accelerate the rate and pace of some of the ROCm kernel development and just the overall ecosystem.
Thanks, Lisa. Maybe as a quick follow-up, could you tell us about the useful lives of GPUs? I know that most CSPs depreciate them over 5-6 years, but in your conversations with them, I'm just wondering if you see or hear any early indication that in practice they may be planning to sweat those GPUs for longer than that.
I think we have seen some early indications of that, Antoine. I think the key point being, clearly there's a desire to get on the latest and greatest GPUs when you're building new data center infrastructure. And certainly when we're looking at MI355s, they're often going into new liquid-cooled facilities, MI450 series as well. But then we're also seeing the other trend, which is there's just a need for more AI compute. And from that standpoint, some of the older generations, MI300X is still doing, quite well in terms of, just where we see people, deploying and using, especially for inference. And from that standpoint, I think you see a little bit of both.
And the next question comes from the line of Joe Moore with Morgan Stanley. Please proceed with your question.
Great, thank you. You mentioned MI308. I guess what's your posture there to the extent that, if there is some relief that you're able to ship, do you have readiness to do that? Can you give us a sense for how much of a swing factor that could be?
Sure, Joe. So look, it's still a pretty dynamic situation with MI308. So that's the reason that we did not include any MI308 revenue in the Q4 guide. We have received some licenses for MI308, so we're appreciative of the administration supporting some licenses for MI308. We're still working with our customers on the demand environment and sort of what the overall opportunity is, and so we'll be able to update that more in the next couple of months.
Okay, but you do have a product to support that market if it does open up, or are you going to have to start to kind of rebuild inventory for that?
We've had some work in process. I think we continue to have that work in process, but we'll have to see sort of how the demand environment shapes up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Operator, I think we might have time for just one more caller, please. Thank you very much.
No problem. And the final question comes from the line of Ross Seymour with Deutsche Bank. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks for squeezing me in. Lisa, this might take longer than the amount of time we have left before the top of the hour, but there's been so many of these multi-gigawatt announcements from OpenAI. How does AMD truly differentiate in there? When you see that big customer signing deals with other GPU vendors and ASIC vendors, et cetera, how do you attack that market differently than those competitors to not only get the 6 gigawatt initially, but hopefully more after that?
Sure, Ross. Well, look, what I see is, actually, this environment where the world needs more AI compute. And from that standpoint, I think OpenAI has kind of led in the quest for more AI compute, but they're not alone. I think when you look across the large customers, there is really a demand for more AI compute as you go forward over the next couple of years. I think we each have our advantages in terms of how we are positioning our products. I think MI450 series in particular, I think is an extremely strong product, rack scale solution. Overall, when we look at compute performance, when we look at memory performance, we think it's extremely well positioned for both inference as well as training. I think the key here is time to market, it's total cost of ownership, it's deep partnership, and thinking about not just MI450 series, but what happens after that. So we're deep in conversations on MI500 and beyond. And we certainly think we're well positioned to not only participate, but participate in a very meaningful way across the sort of the demand environment here. And I think we have certainly learned a ton over the last couple of years with our AI roadmap. We've made significant inroads in terms of just what the largest customer needs from a workload standpoint. So I'm pretty optimistic about our ability to capture a significant piece of this market going forward.
Great. And I guess as my follow-up, it'll be a direct follow-on to that. You did a unique structure by granting some warrants with this deal, and I know they vest according to a price that'd be very accretive and make everybody happy. Do you think that was a relatively unique agreement, or given that the world needs more processing power, that AMD is open to somewhat similar, conceptually similar, creative ways to address that demand over time with other equity vehicles, et cetera?
Sure, Ross. So I would say it was a unique agreement from the standpoint that, unique time in AI, what we wanted, what we prioritized was really deep partnership and, multi-year, multi-generation, significant scale. And I think we got that. We got a structure that has, extremely aligned incentives. Everybody wins, right? We win, OpenAI wins, and, our shareholder win, sort of benefits from this, and all of that accrues to the overall roadmap. I think as we look forward, I think we have a lot of very interesting partnerships that are developing, whether they're with the largest AI users, or you think about sovereign AI opportunities, and we look at each one of these as a unique opportunity where we're bringing sort of the whole of AMD, both technically as well as all the rest of our capabilities, to the party. So, I would say OpenAI was pretty unique, but I would imagine that, there are, lots of other opportunities, for us to bring our capabilities into the ecosystem and participate in a significant way.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the question and answer session, and that also concludes today's teleconference. We thank you for your participation. You may disconnect your lines at this time.
Okay. That was AMD's Q3 2025 earnings call. Stock after hours still down, not as down as it was before, but 242 down from 250. I'll start with you, Neil. What was your raw reaction to that call?
Well, unfortunately, from what I understood is, again, we did not get that much extra needed information, but then again, we only have to wait one extra week to get a lot more information, because there is that analyst day next week, which I don't know why they have to do this, but okay. You have an earnings call, why not already tell us something and then maybe expand more next week? Because in this case, there were some questions where they didn't really want to answer, so they were leaving that for next week, which, okay, I guess fine. We'll wait an extra week, and then some specific question with regards to data center, server side, the back and forth there. In the end, I don't know, maybe Jose, maybe you got the answer, but I did not really get an answer from that whole back and forth question, which I can't remember what's the name of the analyst, but I'm pretty sure that 3 months ago he was trying to get an answer on the exact same question. Stacy, yeah, exactly. This is something I dislike.
Can you clarify, Neil, what exactly was he trying to figure out when he went back and forth?
which business line was growing faster, right? Was it the server side or which one was the other, server and data
server
center?
or no, he was just talking about server CPU or just the instinct data center GPU. So he was trying to find out which one was growing at a faster level.
And then he did indicate, I mean, he tried to say the number that we all wanted, the $6.5 billion, which the $6.5 billion of so-called AI revenue for the year, which is what his calculations told him 3 months ago, which is very low, because last year that exceeded $5 billion. Going into 2025, analysts had it at, I think, $12 billion. That dropped to $8.4 billion after a quarter. And now if his numbers show 6.5, that's really not that much, but apparently those numbers are not correct according to AMD's management. So hopefully they're not correct because they're going to be more. But
are you concerned at all that they didn't really give a direct answer to that, or you didn't expect them to?
I'll be more concerned if next week I get 0 answers from the analyst day. I'll tell you that much, but they did tell us that 2026, they are going to ramp faster and they have no issues, like no supply issues. So that should be good. But again, I think most of the big answers will be given next week, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I thought the call, I didn't learn anything new, right? I think the thesis is still intact and that's not necessarily anything bad, right? I think the thesis is still intact that 2026 with the MI450 is going to be the really strong year for them. Even though many people might hate Stacy, it is a great question, right? I think I don't mind someone being aggressive, trying to get the right answers from AMD. Now, am I mad or do I do I think it's bearish that they didn't answer? If I didn't know AMD and Lisa Su like I do, I probably would, but they never give the answer to that. So they're consistent with that. Now I agree with Neo that we have next week to get a lot more updates. I'm hoping to see at least the TAM growth, because that's what they really promised. But outside of that, I don't know if they're going to give us any updates on the actual on maybe any actual GPU numbers. So again, I think for long-term investors, everything we knew, we didn't expect much growth into the 450s. The MI355 seems to be doing okay. We're expected to see a nice revenue growth next quarter. We're expected to see heavy growth in 2027. They're going to give us, luckily, next week, maybe more updates on the OpenAI deal as well, because it does seem like they gave that information. So unfortunately, it seems we have to wait another week to kind of get the right answers. And I agree with Neo. I wish this is the earnings call. We're supposed to get that information from them. But this is usually typical AMD stuff. They, whenever you have an event coming up in a few weeks, they're like, oh, we'll share a little bit more there, maybe just to get some more views into that event.
But the pressure is on them now because they didn't want to share it now. They have to share it next week.
Yeah. One thing I did kind of find interesting is they did mention that they're working with their players, with their customers in forms of just the supply chain, the power, 2 years in advance. They gave some, I forget what were the actual components they were working with, but it does showcase that they have at least a visibility of how the market is, at least right now planning for these AI data center buildouts, and they're at least planning from 2 years out into the future. So that's at least somewhat exciting because it gives you again visibility of how this market can be evolving as of now.
Do you guys think that the call essentially was a formality today, and it didn't clarify anything that mattered around, in particular, the OpenAI partnership, or it's just you got to wait till the analyst day? And same thing for the chat as well. Did you guys get anything? Because look, the call was in the background. I was listening to it, but I didn't see anything other than that exchange with Stacy that was even interesting enough to care about.
I would say I wasn't expecting to learn much. The only thing I really would have learned, because like I mentioned, if AMD investors should know that the MI 450 is the real story. So they just released the MI 355. There's not a secret product or anything secret that they were going to release right now. So I expected pretty much a nothing burger earnings. The only thing that I would have loved to hear is maybe a little bit more updates on the OpenAI deal. And TAM. Yeah, I guess if there wasn't that event, we would have learned about it today, but now we have to wait 7 days for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, it seems like we're turning bearish, but we're definitely not. We're definitely not. I mean, the fact is the stock is barely down, 3% right now. 3% implied move was 8%. So we'll see what happens when the market opens tomorrow. But bottom line is the numbers were good. Beats across the board for the quarter. Guidance, in my opinion, is an easy beat as well. Yes, it just lacked the extra information. But maybe a week from today, we're going to say, actually, we got everything we wanted during that analyst day, and then we just continue with our day. Plus, I mean, the stock has more than doubled year to date, okay, for various reasons. But bottom line is good quarter, probably a lot of it priced in, especially since we didn't really get that much new information as of right now. But that's about it. That's about it.
And I mean, I feel like Lisa Su at least gave us the understanding that what they're going to release next week is going to be something bullish. Like the total addressable market, based on how she talked, I'm expecting from her limited excitement that she usually shares, I'm expecting TAM to increase. They gave us, I forget, 2028 was expected to be $500 billion, I think was the last number. If they're not giving us the number for 2028 and they give us the number for 2029, I expect it to continue at some nice, rapid, compounded annual growth rate over time. So while she didn't say much, I think she said at least be excited for next week.
Yeah, because every time she talks about that number, which, by the way, that number was $400 billion at first, right? And then it went to $500 billion. And every time she talks about that number, she always and some people think I'm too conservative with that number, which probably means she has some room to increase that number if she wants. Of course, she has to back it up with actual revenue. But if that OpenAI partnership does work out, that's $100 billion in revenue that they will make for the next couple of years. So I guess there is money that should be coming in. But yeah, all in all, too long, didn't watch the whole stream. Good report, good numbers.
See you next week.
Boring call, because next week we have an actual analyst day with some good answers coming up.
All right, there you go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. That was AMD. I know the after hours markets is a bit bloody still. We did get a little bit of a crypto rebound, but obviously everything is still ugly. We do have a pretty big election tonight, so we're going to see what happens with that, and that could have implications throughout the rest of the week. Bitcoin right there, just above 101, which is nice, given it was at 98, and then Ethereum almost below 3,000.
Nice rebounds, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least holding the 3,200 level is not the worst thing in the world. There you go. That's what we got. Jose and Neil's YouTube, I'm putting in the chat, at least on my stream. So please make sure to subscribe to them. Neil right there, Couch Investor. I cannot say how much I am a fan of their channels. I mean, I watch their videos. I put it on in the background. I listen to Neil's analysis in particular. Neil covers a variety of stocks. So it is very encouraging to listen to a lot of different perspectives. And then Jose, if you care about semiconductors, that is the channel to listen to. Also, Neil, congrats on Micron, dude. That's another one that hit all my eyes.
Yeah, quite crazy, quite crazy.
Yeah, I was asking the chat the other day. I was like, "Who's been bullish Micron?" Everyone started spamming Neil. I was like, "Oh shit, I remember you made a video back when that thing was like $80, and you've been holding it pretty strong." So,
yeah, I mean, the narrative was always, "Oh, memory is cyclical, don't touch it." I'm like, yeah, okay, but I don't know about you, but data centers, GPUs, all of that, you gotta need a lot of HBM, and there are three main players, and one of the three, Samsung, was very much behind. Micron was still doing very well, plus it's the only really US player. So
Agreed.
But thank you.
Yeah, no, and that hitting all-time highs is incredible. And then Jose's newsletter right there, whatthechiphappened.com. You guys can subscribe to that. And I'm sure there's a lot of commentary that'll be coming pretty soon on AMD, I would imagine, Jose.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm sleeping tonight because, I mean, we have AMD, Astera Labs, Supermicro, and I'm pretty sure I missed so many others that, so better go get some coffee and stay up all night.
All right, there we go. Thank you, everybody. Deeply appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow on the Market Open. We will cover everything else going on in the market. And that's what we got for today. Thank you, everybody. We will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.